Springfield's Talk 1041. Hello, good morning. My name is Nick Reed. Apparently, you can make a win too big to rig. Not only the Electoral College, but what is expected to be the first since 2004, 20 years for a Republican. If all things stay steady, Donald Trump expected to win the popular vote as well as the Electoral College vote, which I can't help but believe was part of what he wanted to do. I can't help but believe this was part of doing a Madison Square Garden in New York, hitting some of these states where it wasn't realistic to expect him to actually win the state. But hey, if you pick up 500,000 voters that you otherwise would not have, then you get that popular vote win, and that certainly does satisfy a certain itch, I imagine, particularly for somebody like Donald Trump. The Associated Press, Washington Post, just a couple hours ago, finally acknowledging that Trump has won. The first declaration of this was it? Were we still, or were we just finished up with the broadcast
We
when
had just
Pennsylvania?
finished.
Yeah, when Pennsylvania was called by Fox News, and still when I got up not long ago, I expected, because of the inevitability in terms of Michigan and Wisconsin, and a lot of these other states. I mean, just Alaska itself. With Pennsylvania, all that was needed was 3 more electoral votes. Well, Alaska clearly is going to go to Donald Trump, no question about that. So the fact that these networks still refusing to call it as of 4 o'clock this morning, and I don't even know if NBC, CBS, ABC, if any of those have officially called it. With the Associated Press calling it, I imagine they will not be far behind if they have not already. Kamala Harris not speaking to any of her supporters last night. That is expected to happen today. Donald Trump, of course, did speak, and a lot to talk about this morning. And for most of you, a good morning. Not everyone will feel that way. In fact, someone texted in on the Pyramid Roofing Company talk and text line, I might just watch The View for the first time today. I, I can't wait to hear where Whoopi is moving to. Um, During the show, I do want to talk about this aspect of it. And I talked a little bit in the 11 p.m. hour last night with Dr. M. And, you do have these people that are on the left, and I'm telling you, you may know this, but we hear the insane rhetoric about all of the horrible things Trump is going to do, and he's a dictator. But there are people who really believe that. They have, and it's a horrible thing to me, that the Democrat Party would deliberately make people believe such things, and that the media would assist in deliberately making people think such things, not only because of just the stain it puts on the whole process, but those are real people. And I think there's this callousness that people who are in the political world and the media have, in which they have no problem completely destroying somebody's emotional life if they think it's going to help them win elections, if they think it's going to harm the political opposition. And so, just from a human standpoint, I think we almost at times can be dismissive of the psychological nature that has been created by the left for some otherwise completely normal people who will sink into a horrific depression, who suffer from these paranoid delusions, who generally are genuinely are really panicked and emotionally sick, and really truly do need psychological help. And I'm not saying that to be funny or insulting. I'm not talking about just anyone who's mad or upset at the outcome of the election. I'm talking about these people that break down. You see MSU, and I think it was Georgetown maybe also. There was a Breitbart story about students having safe spaces and fidget spinners and coloring books and Oh, I know what the other thing was. Milk and cookies. I was having a discussion about this last night with someone asking if I saw the posting for students MSU and how there would be safe spaces and comfort jars, calming jars, and all of these things to help them manage to get through it depending on the outcome of the election. And Breitbart had a story. There was some other university, it may have been Georgetown, that was doing something similar. But when I was talking with someone last night, I said, but there was something else, and it was milk and cookies. I kid you not, that they were going to be offering students. And we all know which students it's for. It's for Kamala Harris supporters and Democrats if Trump won. Because we know that if Kamala Harris won, there would be no need for that. Obviously, Trump supporters on college campuses would be very upset, but they would not need milk and cookies. They would not need calming jars. They would not need coloring books. And even if they did, you sure as heck know the left would never give it to them because they're just cold when it comes to that stuff. And so while I listen, a lot of these people deserve at least a moment, arguably, in the political realm, for the opposition to enjoy their meltdown to some degree, just because of how, frankly, horrible they have been and the atrocious lies that they have told and the willingness to psychologically harm millions of Americans for political purposes. But really, in the end, I don't want people to be psychotically unhappy. I don't want people to be so deranged in their delusions about what Donald Trump is going to do that they become a crippled mess that can't enjoy life. And not just life, but the benefits that are going to come along with Donald Trump. And it doesn't mean he's going to do everything perfect. He didn't the first time around. There are plenty of issues that I think the deficit is one that, and I don't know whether that's something he's going to tackle, but that is an area in which he did say the first time around that was something he was going to do. He did not do it. We don't hear much discussion about that at all. I mean, obviously not from Democrats, but even Republicans at this point, other than Freedom Caucus people. So, it isn't that Donald Trump is the end-all, be-all, and the most wonderful thing in the entire world, and everything he does is wonderful. But you just hate to see what otherwise would be normal people that can enjoy life. That if it weren't for the media and the Democrats scaring them into believing that Donald Trump was a dictator, would go about their lives normally, maybe be upset by the election, but do what they would have done 20 years ago and go to work and kind of grumble about it, but go on with their days, go to the grocery store, go to the movies, and live and enjoy life. But the left has created such a stranglehold. It really is sad. And while it can be, and I get it, viewed as somewhat humorous to hear the stories that I'm sure that are going to be coming about the wait time to get in to see a therapist skyrocketing because of the outcome of the election, it really is kind of sad. And I bring it right back to the toxic relationship. Anybody or any organization that create scenarios in which the people they are supposed to be looking after, they drive to therapy, that is not a healthy relationship. It's a toxic one. We have, as you can imagine, a lot of audio to play this morning, and much of it cracks me up. You have countless bits of audio of people that are being interviewed by these mainstream networks, aka left wing, Hispanics, first-time voters, some that have voted Democrat their whole life, voted for Donald Trump, and every time they're at, well, why did you vote for Trump? And every time they give the answer. Then you go and you listen to the same networks, CNN's an example, and they're looking at the exit polling, independent voters, for example. There's a moment, we have this audio, in which there's this huge swing of independent voters to Donald Trump. And they're all just sitting around. And Chris Wallace, one of them, and he's just like, I'll admit, I have no idea why it is that independent voters would swing like this to Donald Trump. I'm like, Are you not listening to the voters you are interviewing? The bubble that the media has created around itself is so thick that even when the networks themselves ask voters, why did you vote this way? And they tell them, they sit around and talk about how they can't figure out why voters voted this way, while they are telling them to their face. It's a remarkable thing. Absolutely remarkable thing. Okay. Have weather coming up. We'll play some of Trump. We'll play some of everything this morning. Pyramid Roofing Company talk and text line 447 KSGF. If you're just waking up and you went to bed before midnight, Donald Trump won. Latest news update.
And the first alert forecast from Color 10 Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today we'll see patchy fog before 8 a.m., otherwise mostly sunny skies with a high near 63. Tonight partly cloudy with a low around 45. For your Thursday, mostly sunny with a high near 61. And on Friday, mostly cloudy with a high near 62.
Someone posted, I thought this was pretty good, in the Pyramid Roofing Company talk and text line, and it was actually a reference to last night. And it says today, or yesterday rather, today feels like we are waiting on an STD test. Hopefully we don't have Kamala Midia. And the test appears to be clean this morning. Springfield's Talk 1041. I'm Nick Reed. played it 3 times yesterday. But given Donald Trump winning the presidency, I cannot help just to hear it under those ears. That campaign ad, that final pitch that was released by the campaign just hours before people would go to the polls.
What will we do with this moment? How will we be remembered? Look at the opportunities before us.
This election really isn't about the left versus the right. It's about we, the people, choosing our government and the choice between freedom versus tyranny.
Disease burden like we have. Why are we allowing this to happen to our children? Ultimately, the only thing that will save our country is if we choose to love our kids more than we hate each other.
What is going on here is deeper than politics. It is deeply spiritual. We are being called to rise above the hatred and the fear and the evil.
We need to remember above and beyond that we must love our neighbors, that we must treat other people as we hope to be treated.
You want to be a rebel? You want to be a hippie? You want to stick it to the man? Show up on your college campus and try calling yourself a conservative.
America is going to reach heights that it has never seen before. The future is going to be amazing.
Don't you want healthy children? Don't you want a president that's going to make America healthy again?
I come to you today as a former Democrat. I will be a first-time Trump voter tonight.
The people dreamed this country, and it's the people who are making America.
I guess we could just loop that for 3 hours and play it over.
Watch the
Let's
show.
just play it over and over and over again.
It's a whole lot different this morning, doesn't it?
Yeah, I remember playing it yesterday and saying, just what a great campaign ad it is, and it gives you that just glimmer of hope, that of feeling really good about things again. And I remember yesterday saying, I wish I knew what the outcome of the election was going to be while listening. I wish I already knew, wish that I'd know that he is going to win, because it would sound somehow ring a little bit differently. And I think that I was right. It does. I didn't think, well, if he does win, we'll just play it then. And I think that I will play it again before the show is over this morning. Just so uplifting, and you juxtapose it to the opposition. And listen, I'm not talking about sort of the back and forth stuff, Trump and name call, just the whole feeling of it, and the feeling in terms of motivation behind supporters on both sides. Whereas the Trump supporter was, about making America great again. It's not just some sort of slogan, but it's this recognition that as a people we can be incredible, that as a country we've done tremendous things, and we can continue to do those tremendous things. We can go back to a time in which we celebrated those things, versus a side that is just about fear and hatred, and all one would have to do is listen to some of the media last night. I mean, just beside themselves. I almost feel a bit of pity for, like, I think to myself, what is it these so-called ladies on The View are thinking? I got to go out and do a show. Their way of coping is to almost try and manifest horrible things through speech. It is to just talk about how horrible it is, and then to turn against people as well. You know, you were just reading something that Claire McCaskill posted, and if you notice the commentary, and I've got some of it as well, where the left is trying to figure out what happened. It's never in the context of what did the Democrat Party do wrong. It's always what is wrong with you. That's what it's all about. I mean, you listen to them, and it doesn't matter how many voters say the economy, the border, crime. I mean, they could say it over and over and over again. And then the so-called experts on the left, they sit there and say, well, it must be because men don't want to support a woman, or it must be because of racism. It's always you did something wrong, not them, not the people in charge, not the people who have crafted the legislation and policies that have resulted in a diminished quality of life. They never even conceive that maybe they did something wrong. It's figuring out what's wrong with you, talking about what's wrong with you. And that's what you're going to hear today. Somebody had texted in that, you know, they've never watched The View before, but today may be the first day. I can guarantee you that's what it's going to be about. How horrible America is in the context of voters, how we are a racist country, that we are a country that's filled with, I mean, white women. Just get ready for the unleashing that you are about to receive, because largely this is going to be your fault, because you were supposed to join with all women in lifting Kamala Harris up, and white women. Mark Halperin had noted this yesterday or the day before, that's what was going to decide it. It was going to be women, and white women in particular, because it's got to be about racism. I'm telling you, you are going to bear the burden of this. This is going to be your fault. It's not the fault of the Democrat policies and inflation and border issues and drugs and human trafficking and crime and a failed education system and foreign policy disasters. No. It's because of you. You did something wrong. And that's going to be the discussion on many of the networks and left-wing shows like The View. So just prepare yourselves. You've had your moment, women, white women in particular. They were really building you up there, how you were going to save America, but you have failed, and so now you will be punished accordingly in the evaluation as to who is to blame for this. Springfield's Talk 104.1, I'm Nick Reed. All right, got quite a few text messages coming in. Also on the Pyramid Roofing Company Talk and Text line, Keith and Branson West. We will get to you in mere moments. Trump doing what only Grover Cleveland has done, becoming president twice non-consecutively, 45 and 47. Springfield's Talk 1041. I'm Nick Reed.
Springfield's Talk 1041, your first alert forecast from Colorton, Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by Wolfpack Cleaners, your residential and commercial cleaning professionals. Today we'll see patchy fog before 8 a.m., otherwise mostly sunny skies with a high near 63. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 45. For your Thursday, mostly sunny with a high near 61. And on Friday, mostly cloudy with a high near 62.
Bradford Light, Pineapple Loaf Coach, two of the offerings from Kansas Territory Brewing, brought to you to the Springfield area by your friends at Show Me Beverage. Offerings up until recently, well, not available in the Springfield market, but then this past season at Hammons Field for the Springfield Cardinal games, and now you can find it on the shelves of some Price Cutters, Macadoodles. So if you notice it and you think, I haven't had that before, you may want to give it a try. Bradford Light, great go-to. Fill the fridge in the garage. Always have it there for yourself or guests. It just, you need to get away a little bit. Kansas Territory Brewing Co.com is the site if you want to learn more about their beers. But again, keep an eye out for that on the shelves, Macadoodles and Price Cutters. Let's go to Branson West. Keith, welcome to the show, sir.
Good morning. What a glorious day it is.
It is pretty nice.
Yeah. Bouncing off what you were talking about earlier, I actually, when I turned the TV on this morning, I actually turned on, flipped over to MSNBC just to see what their reaction was. They had actually called it, and which I was surprised. When I flipped it on, Claire McCaskill was on there just ranting about something, and they flipped it back over to Joe Scarborough or whatever his last name is. He was talking. He was actually praising a lot of things that President Trump did right. And then for whatever reason, they felt like they had to get the opinions of the the Reverend, and I'm
Al
completely
Sharpton,
blank-
the anti-Semite.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. And he immediately went into the gender and race bias of the country.
Right.
And it was, and that's all he was talking about how bad the country was. And when Joe asked him what he thought about how highly Trump did with the Spanish men and the black men, Sharpton made the comment about how misogynist both races were as far as the men went, and I was actually kind of
toxic relationship. That's
toxic
what happens.
Masculinity.
Yeah, but it is a demonstration of the toxic relationship between the Democrat Party and the voters, and how they expect you to be there for them when they need you. But the minute that you decide, hey, wait a minute here, I'm kind of getting the short end of this relationship, they turn on them. They don't ever say, okay, well, let's talk about this. What have we done wrong? They don't ever look at the situation when there is a hemorrhaging of voters, leaving them and say, okay, what is it that we have done to cause this? It's always what is wrong with the voter? What is wrong with you? You're misogynistic. You're racist. You're homophobe. And that's the approach that the Democrat Party has taken. And I think that's what today's going to be. Trey Gowdy last night was talking about how Democrats are going to have to do an autopsy. In other words, they're going to have to look at, okay, we got killed in this thing. Let's do an autopsy and see what killed us. But what Trey Gowdy was talking about here is the approach of, all right, what were voters? Why were they voting? Where were we not in sync with them? But that's not their approach any longer. It's what's wrong with the American people? What's wrong with the voters? And it is a toxic relationship, and that is just increasingly been their approach. I mean, some of the things that Sarah over here was reading that Claire McCaskill said, I mean, just it's more of the same. It's nastiness, and it's generally not the way, particularly when people have the right to choose their representation. It's typically not the best way to go, trying to win people over by threatening them and insulting them if they dare cross you.
Oh, I got my own opinions about Claire McCaskill from growing up in Kansas City. So.
I'm sure then. I'm sure. Hey, Keith, listen, thanks for weighing in. I really appreciate the call.
Thank you. You have a great day.
All right, you do the same. Someone had texted in asking if Kamala had made the concession call. I don't believe so, because there's been no word of that. Last night, the people that are supporters of Kamala Harris that worked very, very hard, dedicated a lot of time and effort to trying to get her elected, and then spent hours at an event waiting to hear her come out and talk to them about just whatever the state of things were in terms of the race. Instead, were given this.
We still have votes to count. We still have states that have not been called yet. We will continue overnight to fight to make sure that every vote is counted, that every voice has spoken. So you won't hear from the vice president tonight.
Dana Perino, who is on the 5 and on throughout the day on Fox News. And she is, I've noted this before, she's class all the way. I mean, she's just absolute class. And she's very analytical. And she knows how Washington works. And so she's one of my favorite people to listen to talk about the things that are going on. And she rarely is critical of personality traits, if you will. But last night she said something that I think is very true, and it's reflected in Kamala Harris's refusal to talk with all of these supporters last night, that Democrats have gotten into this pattern of breaking away from the tradition of in a classy manner, acknowledging a defeat so that the Americans who voted for the victor had the opportunity to celebrate. That was part of what you did in America. That was part of American tradition. That when it became clear, even if you had to stay up late, who the winner was going to be. That the person who lost made the call and then came out, gave a speech, congratulated the person giving the victory or that won the victory. Then the victor got to come out, have his moment, and then the voters got to and have that moment for the day. That was just something that has long been a tradition in modern American politics. And John Kerry was the first to break away from that. And of course, she was part of the Bush administration, and so in 2004, she talked about how, okay, we got this thing, Bush winning not just the electoral vote, but the popular vote. Now, Democrats would claim it was stolen, and Ohio was stolen, and so forth, but what would occur is the traditional, okay, we got the call and we're going to go out and we're going to celebrate. And then John Kerry announced, well, he wasn't going to concede yet. And so they had to go back to the suites. And it just, became a disruption in what traditionally has been part of the peaceful transition of power, the acknowledgement that this is how our country works. And of course, we saw the same thing with Hillary Clinton. And now we're seeing the same thing with Kamala Harris. But it isn't only the opposition that it's disrespectful towards in the way that Dana Perino was noting this, and I agree with her, but to your own supporters. Here you have these people that as crazy as it may seem to you and I, were behind Kamala Harris only in the last few months because they were told, here's your new picked person. But they believed in her, and, they go out there and they campaign for her. Some of them donate money. They try to get their friends to come out and vote for her. And, they spend a lot of time and effort doing this. And then many of them traveling from across the country because they're fans of hers and they believe in her. And they pack into this crowded room and and they're watching these results come in and more disappointed and disappointed and disappointed. Now, one may think, well, I mean, if the candidate's not doing well, you can understand they don't want to come out. But what about the supporters? I mean, that's when they need you. They need you to come out, and even if you're not going to concede, to talk to them. Kamala Harris didn't even bother to come out and talk to them. And it gives you a sense of the level of disrespect, even for their own voters, that the Democrat Party has, that I suspect it didn't even cross their mind. Well, how does this make them feel? What about all of our supporters out there that are very disappointed, that are worried about the direction of things, that are wanting someone to tell them, listen, I know that this isn't what we expected. I know this isn't what you wanted and what you worked for, but I cannot thank you enough. The country thanks you. If it weren't for you, we would not have made it this far and got our message out. And even though we didn't win the night, we did make some ground and headway in moving forward in this and that. You thank them. But to not even to bother, it just is, it's a real disrespect, but it demonstrates a complete lack of appreciation for what your people do for you. And I think that it's a sad thing, even though that's not the political side that I was supporting or wanting to win the race. I do think it's kind of sad that you would just so dismissively treat the people who work so hard in order to get you elected. And these were people who showed up knowing that there wasn't even going to be a concert, or at least being told that there was going to be one. Springfield's Talk 104.1, I'm Nick Reed. A1 Custom Car Care, you got car care needs. Lucky you, you got A1 Custom Car Care, and wintry weather will be upon us before we know it. And that means dangerous road conditions. We all know how it is, that very first ever so slight indication of snow, and people seem to forget how to drive, particularly, I don't know why this is, it just really seems like northbound on 65. I don't know what that is. South of 60. That just seems to be the case. But that being said, you want to make sure that your vehicle's maintained ready for winter. Tires are important, making sure that they are weather ready, and then your battery and your fluids and your defrost and a lot of these other things you may not necessarily think about. And you're thinking, well, what are all of the things? A1 Custom Car Care. Just check with them. Tell them maybe you got an oil change coming up in a couple weeks. You can wait till then. Let them know. Listen, I'd like to make sure that this thing is ready for winter, and they'll take care of you. A1 Custom Car Care for all of your car care needs. All right, this is part of what Donald Trump said early this morning after it became clear that he would become the 47th president of the United States.
Many people have told me that God spared my life for a reason. And that reason was to save our country and to restore America to greatness. And now we are going to fulfill that mission together. We're going to fulfill that mission. The task before us will not be easy, but I will bring every ounce of energy, spirit, and fight that I have in my soul to the job that you've entrusted to me. This is a great job. There's no job like this. This is the most important job in the world.
Now, we're rightfully excited as Americans, and it is not even so much what he says has talked about he's going to do, but knowing what he has done. It's like you work for a company and you get a new general manager, and in the few years that general manager is there, just overall things are better, and the leadership, it's just great, and then they leave, and the person that replaced that general manager kind of ran things into the ground, and so the powers that be rehire the old general manager. Even if you don't necessarily know what their plan is to fix things, you know that you're in good hands. Yes, okay, thank goodness. We're going to get back on track. And so there is that feeling. But there's a lot. I know we recognize it. In fact, I think someone had texted in, let's start the countdown to impeachment. For what you may say, doesn't matter. There are some things that Trump is going to be able to do straight up on his own. I think peace in the Middle East is one of them. When I say on his own, he obviously has a team of people, but there's not going to be much Democrats can do to stop him. And I do believe that while it may not necessarily be before he's sworn in, that that this is the beginning of the end of the Russian-Ukraine conflict, war. That Trump is going to end that thing. And I do believe that all of the players at hand, I believe that NATO, I believe that Zelensky, who, by the way, has posted glowing raves about Donald Trump winning. Oh, this is fantastic. The world leaders it's amazing how the world leaders are congratulating Hitler. All of these world leaders that Kamala Harris said are laughing at Trump and hates Trump and they're scared of Trump. Boy, they certainly are singing a different tune on social media right now. But Zelensky, NATO, and Putin, I firmly believe, have been anticipating this election. And if Kamala Harris had won, believing that it was going to be just a continuation of getting money from NATO and the United States and just continuing killing each other without any real successes on either side. But I believe that Zelensky he wants this thing done. Putin wants this thing done. Ideally, they would like it to be a 100% clean and 100 victory, a win. I'm sure Zelensky would like to have the Crimean Peninsula back. Everything back to the way it was before Putin started his aggression under the Obama administration. I think, though, that there is a recognition that that is not going to happen by way of war. That's not going to happen. I think Putin also recognizes that by way of war, by way of killing one another, he's not going to do what he thought he was going to be able to accomplish, and that is take Ukraine. But neither of them want to look like they're giving up. So I think they're waiting, and that Trump is going to get this thing set up. And I do believe Trump will end this thing. I firmly believe that. It may take a little longer than his declaration that before he's even sworn in, though I believe that he will be meeting with these people, whether it's through back channels or publicly, right away. I think these are things that he believes that he can do more easily than some of the other initiatives, because as an executive, and as a deal maker, he's able to sit down and start these conversations without having to worry about Congress, without having to worry about any of that stuff. And then also sanctions on Iran. Iran is very, very unhappy. And Israel is very, very happy this morning. Trump winning, I believe, vastly diminishes what otherwise would have been a further larger war between Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon and in Iran, because they know what Trump did before, and that was cripple Iran through economic sanctions, while the Biden administration built them up by lifting economic sanctions. And so Trump was able to cripple terrorism in the Middle East and start a peace process with Israel and other Middle Eastern countries without firing a shot, without using any military force or threat whatsoever. And they know that. And those things alone, I believe that there is a tremendous degree of potential success. And I think Trump's going to get started on that stuff right away. Now, there's a lot of other, we haven't talked about what's going to happen with these cases against him. Are Democrats going to still try and imprison him? And then when he pardons himself, are they going to impeach him for pardoning himself? Are they going to drag us through all of that? Hunter Biden. I'd say 60%, 65%, maybe 75%. Trump will pardon him. Odds are, I believe that is going to happen. So there's so much that, as the excitement wears off, the realities of, okay, what's this look like? What is this going to, on a day-to-day basis be like? That's the sort of thing we're going to start looking at. It was 4 years. All right, we're going to take a break. Traffic update. We've got more audio coming up. Your text messages. You can text in the Pyramid Roofing Company talk at text line 447 KSGF. I'm Nick Reed. Springfield's Talk 104.1. My name is Nick Reed. Welcome to the show, Wilder RV. If you got RV needs, you have Wilder RV. Now, some of you know that already, but believe it or not, there are people out there who don't. Maybe they've never explored the world of RVs, or maybe they have one. They bought one some time ago, and, they just went somewhere real close to home, and they didn't really do much exploring. So, what we need to hope for all of those people is that they visit wilderrv.com, take a nice drive up to Clinton, Missouri, reach out to those folks, and maybe, even if it's for the first time, explore. Hey, listen, Trump got reelected. Don't you feel like you just want to do something? Like, okay, all right, this is good. Things are going to start easing up. There's going to be these changes, and make a difference in your daily life. And maybe that's getting outdoors more, just getting away, get out in nature more. And an RV can be a fantastic way to do that. End of year deals, you can check them out. WilderRV.com. Fantastic folks up there in Clinton, Missouri. Now, Trump is getting, he was reelected. Even the AP's called it. Washington Post has called it. Everybody's acknowledging it. It is going to be, the whole environment is different this time around than the first time around. When the American people decided to give Donald Trump a shot in 2016, we didn't really know what to expect. I mean, we knew what he had done as a guy in the private sector, but we, couldn't really say what's his track record as a guy who runs for office, because let's be honest, there are a lot of people, and oftentimes they start at a local level, that talk big talk. They're one of the outsiders. They're not one of the elites. They're going to clean things up, and then they get in there, and then they come back to tell you why they can't really clean it up, or why, well, this isn't as bad as it looks, or, well, you have to understand. You hear that sort of thing a lot. And the American people thought we're going to give Trump a shot. And I think Trump delivered on not being one of the elites, not being somebody that was going to get in there and all of the sudden, you got to understand. I mean, you think how we're so used to Republicans telling Republican voters this. Well, you have to understand. And look at leadership in Congress. My entire life as a voting adult has been Republicans explaining why it is that they can't do what it was that they said they would do if they got elected. As a party, particularly in Congress. It's always, well, we don't have the White House, so whatever we pass will get vetoed. Or, well, we have the White House, but we don't have the Senate, so whatever we'll get, it won't pass the Senate. Or when Republicans control everything, well, we got an election coming up in 2 years, or a year from now, some of these races are pretty close, and so we got to kind of keep our heads down. We don't want to do anything too crazy, because if we do, we might lose control of Congress. There's always some reason. As a voter, I have been told, as have you, by Republicans, why these things that they claim that they would do if they got in there, that they telling you, you got to understand, here's why there's no point in us even trying. Not Trump. Not Trump. I mean, in some ways, it's kind of like Wreck-It Ralph. Just swing and swing and swing that sledgehammer. And it doesn't mean, of course, that he was able to accomplish everything, because a lot of obstacles put in his way, some things that he just couldn't do. Trump said he was going to build a wall, and he didn't complete that wall. Well, it's not like he didn't try, for Pete's sakes. I mean, yes, that is correct. Trump did not complete that full wall, but Lord knows he tried. I mean, it was Democrats and establishment Republicans who stopped it. The guy he just doesn't quit. He also, his own acknowledgement, and I love this about the guy, When asked, was there anything you did wrong that first time around? Any mistakes you made? He's straight up, yeah, some of the people I picked, I did not do a very good job at that. Now, you juxtapose that to Kamala Harris. Is there anything you would do different from the first 4 years you were in the White House? No, can't think of a single thing. Trump immediately, because that's how Trump understands that you succeed. When you find out what you did that didn't turn out the way you wanted it, you find out what decisions you made that ended up being obstacles to your goal, and then you change those things. So he knew straight up. And Donald Trump, and I think this is a lesson for all of us, incidentally, Donald Trump doesn't see that as something to be ashamed of or embarrassed of. He sees that as, I figured something out that was an obstacle in my way, and figuring that out is a good thing, as opposed to what typically happens in government, and that is deny, 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 rationalize, rationalize. Trump sees that as a strength, recognizing where you went wrong and fixing it. So the first term had the unknown of everything. The guy's never held office. He is an outsider. He's totally out of left field in terms of what we're accustomed to in this country. This time around, we do have the knowledge of a first term, but this is where Donald Trump is different. Donald Trump is not going to go into this the exact same way he did the first term. See, that's what most people would do. Oh, well, I won. And so that just means people are happy with what I did, so I'm going to just keep doing it the same way that I did it before. That's not how Trump sees it. Trump sees it as, yeah, got a lot of awesome stuff done, but there were some real obstacles in the way. And one of those major obstacles was a self-inflicted obstacle, and that was the people I picked. And he picked those people because he believed strategically that was the way to help get things done. That if he had some of the insiders with him, that would help him do it. His thinking was, well, if we're all outsiders and we don't have any insiders, then we're not going to get anything done. It's sort of like when lobbyists hire former members of Congress. You got an in. And Trump, recognizing how the business world works, saw that as the path forward to help get some of the things done. Well, that was a miscalculation because D.C. is not the private sector. And in D.C., you may bring people in your inner circle who do not want you to succeed, as opposed to the business world where your success is their success. They want to succeed. They want you to succeed. Not that way in D.C. Knowing that Trump does not make the same mistake twice because he's not willing to. I think that I am most excited about what this world he is going to create around himself is going to look like. I mean, we see it in the prospects of RFK Jr.'s and Elon Musk's, but I think what Trump is going to do here is he's going to pick visionaries. Visionaries who recognize, really, truly, not rhetorically, but recognize that government is the problem. Government is the obstacle to doing great things in this country. Elon Musk certainly recognizes that. RFK Jr. certainly recognizes that. And there are so many departments and divisions of government that are such a burden on the American people. And I think Trump he's throwing all that mistake that was a completely understandable mistake, miscalculation maybe is a better word, of believing that we need to fill his world, that executive branch, is people with some of the insiders to help grease the wheels, get things done. That he's like, none of that anymore. I think that we could potentially see, domestically in particular, in this administration, things that are just going to leave the establishment in this, like, you can't do that mindset. And Trump is going to say, watch. And you know what I think it is? It's the knowing that we don't know. That in the next 4 years, I believe that there are going to be things Trump does that we are going to find ourselves going, oh my gosh, can you believe he's going to do this? And I think that's a good thing. Weather in a moment, latest news update now.
And the first alert forecast from Color 10 Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today we'll see patchy fog mainly before 8 a.m., otherwise mostly sunny skies with a high near 63. Tonight partly cloudy with a low around 45. For your Thursday, mostly sunny with a high near 61. And on Friday, mostly cloudy with a high near 62.
Pyramid Roofing Company talk and text line. Good morning, afternoon from Amsterdam. Watching TV earlier today. BBC folks there, European news anchors, discussions about how Europe, they're going to have to start to make major trade adjustments. And, I mean, there's going to be a lot of that. There's going to be some changes. I think there are going to be some big and significant changes. And that's what people voted for. We're going to play some of that audio and talk about that coming up, and how it's just amazing when you have these networks interviewing voters who tell them, here's exactly why I voted for Donald Trump. And then they sit around and talk about how they don't understand why people voted for Donald Trump. Like, why are you even asking people if you're not listening? Like, why are you doing that? Why bother? There are a lot of posts on social media and a lot of you texting in with a mix of emotions, because in terms of the country, things headed in the right direction. And not only Trump winning the election, but appears as if he's going to win the popular vote, and Republicans taking the Senate. I mean, it's just looking very, very good. But then the pro-abortion movement had a victory in the state of Missouri, which I had been predicting was going to happen. And it does me no pleasure whatsoever to be right about that. It was a bit closer than I thought that it would be, up until the last final weeks, talking with people who were out there on the ground educating voters and making some real headway. And I, because of that, felt that it would be closer than I thought that it would be months prior, but even hopeful that maybe it would get defeated, but 50-1 outspent. I mean, the people who want to treat children like property that can be slaughtered just for convenience sake are willing to put a lot of money into that. But we live in a country, people gave up their lives in order to defend owning people. Slavery. It is interesting to me that ideologically, the people who love to wag their finger and shame our country over slavery are the ones that use the exact same argument today in order to defend what they believe is a right to kill human beings that are their own children. Florida had an Amendment 4 that was somewhat similar in nature to our Amendment 3, but Florida, like most states, has a reasonable threshold to amend the Constitution. It requires at least 60%. They don't treat it willy-nilly. And most states don't. Missouri does. This is the conversation that has been had for years and years and years about petition reform that says we need to get our Constitution in line with, the U.S. Constitution. And that is not treat it so flippantly to just add an amendment here, add an amendment there. And right now, the big problem, Republicans and the establishment Republicans and a lot of their big donors like the fact that if you have enough money, you can buy amendments in the state of Missouri. And that's what it boils down to. Amendment 3 is an example of that. There could be court challenges. So I don't believe that we should give up hope, particularly given that we're talking about innocent lives. And not to mention the sex change operations for kids component in there that will be utilized, will be interpreted in order to suck some of these kids into this transgender cult and convince them to get sex change operations and take irreversible drugs that will damage them and destroy aspects of their body for the rest of their lives. And then the amnesty it gives to anyone who performs an abortion if they botch it and leave a woman painfully dying on the operating table. Amnesty. I mean, if you live in this country and you learn how to do an abortion on YouTube, Missouri is going to be your new home. Because for a handful of cash, with the full knowledge that you are immune from any sort of malpractice lawsuit or anything like that, you can start doing abortions left and right in Missouri. And we were told that that is for the safety of women. Now, I don't believe that it should have even been voted in its current form because there were, a number of different issues on the ballot or with that one vote, which has become commonplace in Missouri. It's not supposed to be that way. If there is a vote on something and you're like, well, this part I like, this part I don't like, it's not supposed to be in that form whatsoever. Everything's supposed to be single issue. So it is tragically disappointing, and I've mentioned this before. The new Republican Speaker of the House in Missouri has already said, if this passes, let it be. That we need to respect the death cult. He has also, though, been supportive of children being injected with these irreversible chemicals that will forever change and damage their bodies. And when it came to the will of the people, had no problem whatsoever bucking the will of the people in Missouri when it came to the gas tax. The people of Missouri voted numerous times on a gas tax, and they said no. But he was one of the Republicans who said, you know what? This is so important of an issue. We need to ignore the will of the people. But when it comes to this abortion amendment, he takes the opposite position. That's not important enough. And the Missouri Republican Party, as a whole, needs to do some soul searching when the person that is expected to be the next Speaker of the House believes that tax increases are more important than life, to the point that the will of the people need to be overridden to raise taxes on us, but the will of the people to have abortion until birth, that's something that we should respect. That's jacked up. When you have greater convictions for taxpayer dollars than you do human lives. So for all of the positive, and I'm not mentioning this to bring people down, but with all of the talk and the excitement, I also don't want to ignore something that is very, very serious, and that is putting Missouri on the map of the world. Because for all of the presentation that somehow America's backwards because of these abortion restrictions, European countries have much more greater restrictions on abortion than we do here in the United States. And now you make Missouri one of the most pro-abortion states in a country that is already one of the most pro-abortion countries in the world. You know what that says about us on the face of the planet? That's bad. I do believe firmly, that being said, that if every single person who voted on this amendment actually knew what was in it, it would have failed. The downside, of course, is that the lies won the day, if I am correct in this assessment, which of course I believe I am. The upside is, if I am correct, and it passed because people believed misinformation about the amendment, the upside is that then means that we at least don't have a majority of voters who believe that babies at 8 months and 3 weeks should be aborted just because the mother's stressed out over having a baby. Traffic update, I'm Nick Reed. Hey, we have our Show Us Your Best Shot going on again. This is third or fourth year in a row. Save Money Radio. Brad Pistole, host of Save Money Radio, sponsoring it once again this year. An incredible prize pack. I know it's worth like hundreds of dollars. You can check that out at ksgf.com. This is a fun thing we do. You just go to ksgf.com and on the rotating tile, Show Us Your Best Shot, click on it. And then when you scroll down, there's an area to submit your picks. And they don't have to be picks of from, this hunting season. It can be any hunting season because it's going to be randomly chosen. But it's just a fun way for Brad Pistole, host of Save Money Radio, to connect with the listeners. He's an avid hunter. He loves this stuff, so he crafts this prize pack that is geared towards hunters and for us all just to see each other's picks of this season or past seasons when it comes to hunting. So that is Show Us Your Best Shot, again sponsored by Brad Pistole, host of Save Money Radio at ksgf.com.
Springfield's Talk 1041, your first alert forecast from Colorton, Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by Wolfpack Cleaners, your residential and commercial cleaning professionals. Today we'll see patchy fog mainly before 8 a.m., otherwise mostly sunny with a high near 63. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 45. For your Thursday, mostly sunny with a high near 61. And on Friday, mostly cloudy with a high near 62.
What was your confidence level going into last night, Sarah Myers?
I was cautiously optimistic, but I know that I kind of live in a bubble because all of my friends are conservative, all of my coworkers are conservative, the social media that I follow, the news that I read, and so I was afraid that I was going to be too much in a bubble, but I was cautiously optimistic, so I'm pretty happy.
Yeah, I was also cautiously optimistic, but this is the weird thing. I also... Well, so the people I associate with, and I talk about these things when I do, are more in line politically. Now, I have friends that are extreme lefties, but we just generally don't talk. We have talked about these things, but I just don't. Why do that? If they wanted to, sure, I would and I will, but it's just not something that I really have these discussions of. But I follow the left-wing networks, the major media, and so I hear what they're saying. The problem is they don't really ever give anything of substance. It's just all Trump is evil and Trump's going to execute political opposition in these things. So, there's not really any value in that in terms of trying to get some real evaluation. It's such a weird thing because it's like you're evaluating this public debate, and on one side you have these bullet points, these arguments, and then the evidence of the arguments, and then the other side just screaming Hitler. And you're like, well, okay, but that's not really what we're talking about here. So it becomes difficult to... So you have two different languages being spoken. You have a language being spoken about results, quality of life, issues, and then a language of they're bad guys, they're Hitler, they're going to kill you. And so it becomes two separate audiences instead of one audience that is the recipient of the same style of messaging. Opposing viewpoints, but instead of having this one audience that is hearing two sides debate over the economy, debate over the border, debate over, you've got one that says they're just horrible, bad people, end of democracy as we know it, while the other one is talking about the issues. So that makes it sort of a weird thing to try and evaluate. Now, I want to play a number of bits of audio. Voters. And these are not... We've got CNN, we've got Mark Halperin, we've got MSNBC, we've got some of these people are leaving the polls, being asked who'd you vote for and why. All walks of life. Some of these are lifelong Democrats. And I want to play a number of these so that you hear what it is that the media is hearing, okay? Because it's the media asking these questions, the anti-Trump media. So the first one, CNN was speaking to, and I think that the on-site gal sort of sets this up, but in case she doesn't, there's a Puerto Rican gal, looks like she's probably in her 20s.
Talking about Puerto Rico being an island of garbage. Well, we happened to talk to one first-time voter here as she was heading in to vote. She is Puerto Rican, and listen to what she told me.
It's my first time voting.
Oh, you're a first-time voter. Who would you like to win?
Trump. Me, I am Puerto Rican, so that was like, I was like, wow, like, I don't really like that, I don't know, really. I really don't know, honestly.
So as a Puerto Rican, you're okay with that, though?
No, definitely not. I just think...
Now, let me pause here because there was a little crosstalk there. She was asking, well, what about the garbage comment? And you can hear the approach from the journalist. It's accusatory. It's not even one of curiosity. It starts out as curiosity, but when she starts to give the wrong answer, oh, as a Puerto Rican, you're okay with that? This is a white woman, by the way, CNN.
People, everyone has opinions, if they don't like Puerto Ricans, it hurts, of course, but at the end of the day, I'm okay with who I am, and at the end of the day, I want to be able to have a better life in the future.
She thinks with Trump in office at the White House that she would have a better future, she told us. And she said this was a family decision, that they all spoke together as a family and talked about this. And this is what they decided to do. She does believe that she didn't get really any clear answers from Harris. I asked her why not Kamala Harris. She said when Harris was asked about what she would do to help people, she didn't hear a very clear answer from her, Sarah.
Okay, so let me tell you, you hear this and you're like, okay, straight up question. Straight up answer makes sense. I get it. But what happens with the media, it is as if whenever there is a logical, when there is an explanation that is given that is based in reality, it is as if it's a different language being spoken, and they just, the media tunes out. Like they don't even hear it because it never sinks in for them. And I'll say this also. I don't want to get too sidetracked here. We have in this country vastly different opinions about what a strong woman is. The left portrays a strong woman as someone who is going to be so offended, have their feelings so hurt by what they characterize as a insult to women by Donald Trump or J.D. Vance, the cat lady thing, that is a reason that women should overwhelmingly vote against Donald Trump and J.D. Vance because he said something that was insensitive. That is, in the minds of the left, what makes a strong woman. Now, in my opinion, this gal here, first-time voter, looks like she's in her late teens, early 20s, is the definition of a strong woman. Because when she's asked, well, what about people saying mean things about Puerto Rican? She's like, well, yeah, I mean, I don't like it. I'm sure nobody who's Puerto Rican, they like to hear people not like them. But I can kind of get over that because here's what I'm worried about. It is astonishing when you think about it, the view of strong individuals or strong women. And to the left, a strong woman is somebody that is very triggered, that is going to be horribly offended and upset because of words from a politician, as opposed to what many of us see as a strong woman like this, for example, who's like, yeah, okay, I can get over it. I'm not that worried about that. I'm worried about, is my family going to be safe? I'm worried about, is my paycheck going to cover the groceries, those real life things? And I think that's a real huge difference in the two opinions about what makes a strong woman in this country. Okay, got to take a break. And then I just want to get back to playing some of these audio bits of mainstream media going out there to try to figure out how it is that these people are voting, why it is they're voting the way that they are. Sarah Myers, everyone.
Thank you. When it comes to picking a roofing company, the Pyramid Roofing Company, they got my vote. With the recent rainfall, if you've noticed yellowing on your ceiling or you've had just full-blown leaks, I recommend that you call Josh and the team over at the Pyramid Roofing Company. Now, the Pyramid team, they offer free roof inspections, so you're not out anything whenever you call them out to your home. And when they come out, they're not going to do any type of sales pitch. They're not going to use any scare tactics. They're going to just tell you how it is. Maybe you are in a situation where you don't need a whole new roof, maybe just a simple roof repair. Either way, the Pyramid Roofing Company is going to be upfront and honest about the work that needs to be done at your home. So if it is time to schedule that free roof inspection, go ahead and give Josh and his team a call today. Now you can find all of the contact information for the Pyramid Roofing Company under the Sarah's Endorsements tab at ksgf.com.
CNN talking to a Hispanic voter leaving the polls yesterday, or the polling place.
Georgianne, my name. You just voted for Donald Trump. Walk me through why you cast that vote.
Yeah, so just seeing what's been happening in the past 4 years, I voted Democrat the past 4 years, and I'm really disappointed in the administration, how everything has been going. I was in the mortgage industry for quite some time, and that hurt us pretty bad. I lost my job because of it, dealing with the recession and everything. And I know that everyone's saying we're looking for solutions from every party, right? But in actuality, the solutions they came up with were no solutions. It hurt us even more. Now you have to have a son with parents and daughter, all the families get together to be able to even afford a home or even afford a rent,
So the economy is the number one issue for you?
Absolutely. It impacts every one of us.
Did you vote for Biden in 2020?
I did. I'm sorry. I did. Yeah, I did. I was deceived, but I'm a walking example of how people can change their mind. You just go with the evidence of, what benefits you and your family. So Biden has not been beneficial to my family, at least.
You're a car salesman now.
I'm a car salesman now.
And was that one of the reasons why the economy just is top and center for you?
Yes. Lots of offices shut down. They had to kind of regroup, right? With banks trying to just regroup. And unfortunately, they have to let a lot of people go. It's just a matter of profit, right? I mean, profit is not a bad word for anyone. That's democracy. This is, the country we live in. We vote to be able to make a profit and have a good life, right?
Right, and some more audio. I think this one is MSNBC. Another voter. How'd you vote? Why'd you vote?
But about why you cast your vote for Trump tonight?
I guess it'd have to do with I'm more of like a blue collar worker, and I knew that one of the things he said he was going to do was cut taxes for overtime. So and that's how I make a lot of my money. So that was probably the main driving force.
So for you, it's really a financial decision more than anything else?
Right. Yeah, I'd probably say that, especially with the way the economy's been. So
did you vote for Trump in the past in 2016 and 2020?
I didn't.
You didn't. So did you vote at all in 2016 and 2020?
No, I didn't actually.
Oh, interesting. So this is the first presidential election that you've cast a ballot for in a few cycles now.
Yeah, I think Obama was the last person I voted for. I won't lie.
Yes, so the trend of people who have voted for Democrats in the past switching over. Now, some would call this unity. Some call it Nazism, evidently. I want to take a break, and then I have two other bits of audio that I want to share, and one of them is they may both be a Mark Halprin on his podcast that he does and does a lot of breakdowns of why people, what they're thinking. And there are two women. One was an undecided voter in Pennsylvania. Another, a left-wing woman who is an attorney in Washington, D.C., who voted for Donald Trump. And their reasons are very fascinating and should be a real message if the media were listening to the media. That next. I want to jump straight into this audio. I'd like to get both of them in before the top of the hour, and then we get into the next hour. This is two different bits of audio interviewing two different women regarding their vote. This was prior to the vote yesterday.
All right. First-time voter or first-time Trump voter, Lauren, who does not wear that cap when she goes to U Street to party. Lauren, tell us.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, I definitely don't wear it to law school either. Yeah, I can't believe I'm voting for Trump. Hi, all. I love the circus. That's how I know you, Mark. Dan, your smile brightens my mornings. And Sean, I surprisingly think you're wonderful.
Lauren, who have you voted for in the past, Lauren?
And always Democrats. Like, I've only lived in big cities. Everyone I've known is Democrat, liberal, progressive.
So tell us what's happened, Lauren.
Yeah, I mean, it started with COVID things. That was just it's for me, this election is like a referendum on the elites way more than it is anything about Trump or Harris specifically. And I recognize, like, I live in DC, I'm about to be a lawyer. It doesn't matter. I feel like if the media were more like you, Dan, it would be different. But after years of being, yelled at about misinformation and disinformation and conspiracy theories, and after for this past year, actually doing my research on what Trump did, not just what he said, but what he did in his first term, and realizing the media's lies, and then seeing the media's lies this past year. I mean, the amount of work that you have to do as someone who's not surrounded by a conservative bubble to actually figure out the nuanced truth of what's going on is insane.
All right, and then I want to jump over to get it in before the top of the hour. This is an undecided female Pennsylvania voter, then undecided, leaning towards Trump.
I almost did it because I was like, I'm not going to feel good about either choice. But in the end, when I decided what is most important to me, and I weighed it, it wasn't beyond a reasonable doubt. It's sort of like the preponderance of evidence. It's tilted slightly to Trump. And that's what I did. And I have to say, when people talk about democracy, one of the things that I feel strongly about is I feel like the media is more of a threat to democracy than Donald Trump. And I truly believe that, because in a country...
What does the media do that makes you think that?
I think that they sway information in such a way that it's insulting to voters. And they really try to drive a narrative. And I'm not only in politics, I just feel like a lot of what you read and hear about is such that they want to grab people and pull them into a false narrative for whatever reason. And I feel like that is more of a threat. And I think it's insulting to people who want information and can make their own decisions. And I would say that's why this platform is successful, because people are here expressing how they feel, what they think, and I'm able to listen and take it in and respect if we disagree, but I can make my own decisions based on what I'm hearing. And I do feel like the media and their dislike of Trump really, really got to a point for me where I think that also actually helped me vote for Trump, in a way to say, this isn't just about Harris and my concern about her as a strong leader, and I'm not sure about her conviction, and I don't see her as courageous as some people do, but at the same time, I don't think the media has been helpful.
All right, more in the upcoming hour. News in 60 seconds. I'm Nick Reed. Do you want someone to help you sell your home that's the best? Or help you seek out that perfect home that is also the best? Emily Johnson, House Theory Realty. Maybe you have a friend or someone that's moving to the area. Maybe your in-laws, they live far away and they're moving. You're excited about it because you like your in-laws, or you have some family, but they want to buy a home. Particularly now with Trump getting elected president, things, people are feeling good. They're excited. They think, it's morning again in America. A lot of those financial decisions, not making those long-term commitments, not knowing whether we're going to be slogging through another 4 years of what we are or what we've been dealing with. And now you're thinking, okay, yes, this feels fantastic, great. Emily Johnson, House Theory Realty, I'm telling you, this is the one you need. I've used her. Sarah used her very extensively. So many of you have used her. You can read reviews, people right here in the area, and detailed explanation as to why it is that she was so fantastic and why they will not only use her again, but tell anyone and everyone who needs anything that has to do with home loan or home purchase needs, real estate needs, even questions and advice. Emily Johnson, House Theory Realty. The amendments, are you prepped to go over that now, or am I okay? And I know that Jesse in the news, he's touched on some of these, but we did think that it'd be a good idea to go ahead and go through some of the Missouri amendments, which way they went. I talked a bit about Amendment 3 in the second hour. If you want to hear any of that, of course, you can go back and listen in the on-demand section. And coming up, I am going to also play some of the audio of the media, and amazingly how they're perplexed. They don't understand why independent voters and these other voters supported Donald Trump. So I want to play some of that audio coming up. But right now, that amendment information
and
from Sarah Myers.
It'll be really quick. So Amendment 2, that wins with a yes vote, 50.128% to 49.872%. That's the sports betting amendment. Amendment 3, which is the abortion amendment that you touched on last hour, that did win with a yes vote, 51.742% to 48.258%. Amendment 5, which was the riverboat casino one, that failed. The no vote was 52.398% to 47.602%. The no vote, it takes Amendment 6, 60.575% to 39.425%. Amendment 7, that passed 68% to 31%, and Prop A, which was the minimum wage increase, that did pass 57.580%. And there you have it.
Sucks to be a small business owner in Missouri this morning. The Constitutional Amendment 2, you said that passed? Did you say that passed?
Yes.
What was it again, the margin?
The yes vote, 50.128% to 49.872%, and all precincts are reporting.
This is what I am curious about. How you have two gambling, and they're different forms of gambling, but one passes and the other fails.
And the riverboat casino, that was a pretty wide margin. As to where the sports betting, that was really close. In fact,
I bet it's the whole education thing. I bet that's the hook. It's going to help. All of a sudden, all the education problems we have are going to go away because all this money is going to go towards it. This idea that expanding on a failed system is somehow going to make the failed system better instead of bigger. But nonetheless, I bet that's what it is.
Yep, I bet you're right.
Huh? That's interesting. Very interesting, in fact. Okay. All right. Thank you for that information there. We have at KSGF.com something a little non-political, a little fun, though we've done it for several years. Show us your best shot. This is where we ask that you submit your hunting picks. It doesn't have to be from this season. Brad Pistole, host of Save Money Radio, once again sponsoring this, and once again he has put together, custom designed, the Ultimate Hunter's Pack. This is something that as a hunter he just really enjoys doing. He handpicks all this different stuff and puts it together. You can, if you go to KSGF.com, you can see what it includes. I mean, it's got target shooting kit, a 62-piece universal gun cleaning kit, compact hunting chair, predator call with remote, a sportsman box, hunter specialty shotgun shell holder, Allen double shooting rest, stealth cam, scopes. There's a whole lot of things in there. So, and if you are a hunter, some of the brands themselves you may be familiar with. So that entire prize pack has been put together. How do you get registered to win it? You just submit your photos at ksgf.com, and it's not, whoever has the best or the most points or anything along those lines. It is randomly picked. So you don't need to worry about your quality of pick in terms of like, my deer is sad looking compared to some of these others, because that's not what determines the winner. It is random, but it's just a fun thing to do, chance for you to show off your picks. And if they're picks that you've submitted in the years past, you can still go ahead and do it again. It's, it's just a fun addition to the entry. So that's ksgf.com, and the big rotating tile, you'll see the show us your best shot, and click on it, and then you can scroll down and see where it is that you add your own submission. Though, okay. You kind of have to. This is weird. Have you looked at this yet?
Not recently.
I'm still having trouble with it. So maybe it's just my computer. Anyway, if you have trouble submitting, just send us a text on the Pyramid Roofing Company talk and text line, or you can email me, nick.reed@ksgf.com. We got weather in a moment, traffic as well. Right now, the latest news update.
And the first alert forecast from Colorton, Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today we'll see mostly sunny skies with a high near 63. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 45. For your Thursday, mostly sunny with a high near 61. And on Friday, mostly cloudy with a high near 62.
All right, I do want to play some audio coming up of the media perplexed. I mean, it does not matter how many times they ask a voter, why did you vote for Trump? And how articulate and consistent the answers are, they still, when the results come in, sit shocked and say, we just don't understand why this is I can't figure this out. Pyramid Roofing Company talk and text line. I flipped over to MSNBC for a bit last night. Rachel Maddow was saying that the economy's great and Their own world, yes. Rachel Maddow, I believe she has this multi-million-dollar contract, and she only has to do her show once a week. You know, it's crazy that these people on the left who demonize the rich and talk about paying their fair share manage somehow to get these jobs in which they get paid a lot and actually have to do very little. I mean, it's true. Keith Olbermann, he positioned himself that way at one point. Rachel Maddow, demanding all this. And hey, I mean, they choose to pay her that much for only having to work one day a week. You see these left-wingers that get these professorships. Elizabeth Warren, one of them, Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden there for a while, where sometimes they don't even have to show up and they get paid six figures. Or give a speech and make $250,000 or $500,000 or sometimes $1 million for giving a 20-minute speech. And then they have the audacity to the hard-working people in this country who are having a hard time making ends meet because of inflation to tell us, the economy's great, what are you talking about? Well, yeah, yes, regardless of an overall economic situation, there are always going to be people that are in defiance of it. You can have the greatest economy in the world, and you are always going to have people that all of a sudden find themselves in economic hardship. On the flip side, you can have a horrible economy. And yes, there are going to be people who manage to be doing well, economically speaking. But the people on the left who portray themselves as being so compassionate, portray themselves as being so in tune with the average person, when the uber wealthy that oftentimes do very little work, that then, like, what are you talking about? The economy's bad. It's awesome. It's great. Just so out of tune. Willfully so. Now, in the last hour, I played 5 or 6 bits of audio from liberal news networks talking with voters. 3 guys, 2 gals. One was Hispanic. No, sorry, 3 gals, 2 guys. Hispanic guy, white guy, Puerto Rican girl. I say girl. She looked like she was in her teens, early 20s. She's a first-time voter. 2 white women. 1 young left-wing attorney in the D.C. area. 1 looked like retired age woman, undecided Pennsylvania. And they were all asked about how they were voting, why they were voting that way. And these were all individuals that were voting for Trump. One guy had the Hispanic guy saying the last 4 years all he's done is voted for Democrat, and he laid out his argument why, and it was largely economic. What he had dealt with in the home loan industry, the economic issues, the impact that it's had on his family. So he's asked by the liberal media. And he gives a very articulate answer. The Puerto Rican gal, same thing, my family. They even played, the audio with CNN with the Puerto Rican gal, like, well, doesn't it bother you that, Trump supporters are insulting? Doesn't that bother you? And she's like, well, of course, I don't really, nobody who's Puerto Rican likes to hear people don't like Puerto Ricans, but, and ultimately she was talking about meaningful things, family, safety, security, the economy. Same thing with the guy who last time even voted for president was Obama. Voted for Trump because of the economy. The 2 women it was a more in-depth discussion with Mark Halperin. He's picking their brain. What are you thinking? Why? And both of them talked largely about it being just total and complete misinformation. The media, you can't trust them, and that they're a greater danger to democracy than Donald Trump ever will be. So you had some different reasons, but they were all very... They were reasons grounded in reality based off of the actual life experiences of these people. So the media has access to these voters Voters that I would guess you would classify as independent voters because they are people that have voted Democrat in the past and now they're voting for Donald Trump. If not independent, then they'd be classified as Democrats, certainly not Republican. There's no lack of voters to tell MSNBC, to tell CNN, to tell these networks why it is that they voted for Donald Trump. That being said, listen to what is a sampling of the overall theme last night with these very networks.
Independent voter. They make up 31% of the electorate. That is a slightly larger share than what they made up 4 years ago. Trump is winning them by 11 points in these early exit poll results, 54% to 30%. Jake, 4 years ago, Joe Biden won independent voters in Georgia when he won the state by 9 points. So we've seen a swing of 20 points towards Trump in terms of the margin, from 9-point advantage 4 years ago with independents for Biden to now an 11-point advantage with independents for Trump in Georgia. Jake.
Wow, David Chalian and Dana, that is really significant. We see some incremental changes here and there when it comes to young voters. She's doing slightly better. Non-college whites, he's doing slightly better. But that independent swing is wild.
It's a huge swing, and I just want to underscore what David said. It is a bigger percentage of the vote share. Last time around, it was 28% independents. I made up 28% of the Georgia vote, and now it is 30%. And, I was right, 31%. And it is a total flip. It's a complete flip. Donald Trump is doing so much better with independents than Kamala Harris, and Joe Biden kind of ran away with independents 4 years ago. And of course, he won the state.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out why, what the reason is that there would be this dramatic flip of double digits in independents. And I am something you don't often hear in election coverage. It's something of a loss as to how you explain that independents would have gone so much more for Trump this time than they did for Biden last time.
Now, the reason I play that audio is it is remarkable how obtuse the mainstream media is. You're at a loss. You have no idea what independent voters were thinking. Were you not listening when you ask them these questions? This is what's crazy. They go out there and specifically ask these voters, how did you vote? Oh, Donald Trump. Why did you vote that way? Then they sit back and we're at a loss to figure, what could they be thinking? The arrogance of that entire culture. You hear about narcissists and characteristics of narcissists and how it's always about them. And these are individuals that whenever they engage in a conversation, they're not even really listening to what you say. It just all is about them. And you realize that even when you're talking, they're not absorbing it. That's what the culture in mainstream media is today. It is that narcissism where they ask over and over and over again, why did you vote for Donald Trump? And then they sit back and they say, gosh, if only we had some idea. We can't figure out why it is that they are voting for Donald Trump. We can't figure out what they're thinking. I don't know how much more clear these voters can make it. Aside from the clear inability or unwillingness to actually understand, not even understand, but recognize why it is that people say that they vote the way they vote. You think about what the job of these people is supposed to be. Why is it that these networks ask you to tune in? It is because the average person is supposed to go to these different networks in order to learn something. The idea is that these are the experts. These are the people who have the time and get paid to do what the average person doesn't, and that is evaluate what's going on in the landscape and then package it in a way that people are tuning in will be able to understand and go, oh, okay, now I understand what's going on. Yet the people who are supposed to be responsible for doing this, they're the experts, are the least informed and educated on the things that they're talking about. It's the relationship is backwards because the viewers, the people on the street, are telling them, here is why we are voting the way that we're voting. And then it's the experts that regurgitate that they don't understand. They don't have any idea. We don't know why. The relationship is upside down. It is the people that are supposed to be providing the information that are demonstrating they are clueless. Think about watching a show on like a science show, and science experiments are done, and then the point of the show is explaining why this happens that way and why that happens that way. Because you have these experts. This is a physicist. This is a chemist, and so here is the experiment that we're going to do, and then we're going to explain why this happened the way that it did. Well, can you imagine a show with that format? But then the experts are always like, "Gosh, we have no idea why it did." How long would it take before the producers of the show said, wait a minute, the whole point of the show is you are the expert. You are supposed to understand this, break it down, and then explain it to the viewer. Obviously, that show would not last long. It would be taken off the air because it defeats the purpose. Yet that is what the media does today. They are so ignorant as to what's going on with the masses in this country. Even when they are told directly to their faces. One of the gals in which I played audio in the last hour, who is a young law school student, Washington, D.C. liberal, who said she could not believe she was voting for Donald Trump. She talked a lot about disinformation in the mainstream media and how she found herself, how difficult it was to learn the truth because of how the media lies. And how she found herself just almost incredulous that the media has done this to this country, that here somebody who is a left-winger had to go to great lengths in order to just learn the truth. And she made the comment that, and this was on Mark Halperin's podcast, she goes, this is why I like a format like this. Because you guys ask questions, because you really genuinely want to know. There's no agenda. I give answers, and that Mark Halperin, he's got different political stripes on there. Sean Spicer from former Trump administration guy, he's on there. And she even kind of jokingly said, I even like you. And she goes, but this format, because you guys are talking about things, and your whole point is to just really find the answers to things. And I think that is so telling, because what we've seen in this presidential cycle and the podcasters, and what I believe is the transformation in this country as to where people go to get their information. And it is shifting. People who want true, genuine information, they're leaving mainstream media and they're going to podcasters. Not just any random podcasters, but podcasters that they feel are normal people like them, who are asking questions not in order to nail a candidate or try to help another candidate get elected, but to learn information. I don't believe that we are going to live in a country where the media is going to eventually change itself and be saved, but we are just going to relegate mainstream media to the side and no longer view it as relevant. And people are just going to start getting their news and their information from podcasters. And that left-wing university student, law student who talked about that's where she now goes because that's where you can learn the truth. I think that's so profoundly telling. Anecdotal, but it makes sense. Springfield's Talk 104.1. I'm Nick Reed. All right, we're going to get a traffic update and then play some other bits of audio plus reaction from world leaders. It's amazing how everyone is rallying around and congratulating Hitler, including Zelensky of Ukraine, who stated, "Congratulations, Donald Trump, on his impressive election victory. I recall our great meeting with President Trump back in September when we discussed in detail the Ukraine-U.S. strategic partnership, the victory plan, and ways to put an end to Russian aggression against Ukraine." Interesting stuff. Traffic update, I'm Nick Reed.
Springfield's Talk 1041, your first alert forecast
Oh,
from.
Eminem.
I know.
He must be
I
sad.
bet he is.
Oh, his candidate did not win.
Wah, wah.
Put that in a rap, you 50-some-year-old man.
I'm sure we'll hear one.
Well, he's one of the good white men.
That first alert forecast from Color 10 Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by Wolfpack Cleaners, your residential and commercial cleaning professionals. Today we'll see mostly sunny skies with a high near 63. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 45. For your Thursday, mostly sunny with a high near 61. And on Friday, mostly cloudy with a high near 62.
The Today Show this morning, reminding everyone that J.D. Vance once talked about how evil Donald Trump was and that he was going to be America's Hitler. Now, this again is a matter of perspective. While that J.D. Vance was very, very concerned about Donald Trump being president of the United States when he was running, and he said a lot of those things. But J.D. Vance did what a lot of normal people do that are not tethering their moral compass to the political winds. And that is when he realized he was wrong, he accepted and embraced the truth. And that was well before he ever even envisioned being, the vice presidential pick of Donald Trump. It's not something that the media would like to portray that, well, he just all of a sudden changed his mind to be vice president. No, he changed his mind after Donald Trump became president of the United States, and he saw that he was wrong. That's what mature people do. Now, mind you, the woman who just lost the presidency characterized Joe Biden as a racist when she was running against him and other Democrats vying for the nomination back in 2016. In fact, she personalized it, talking about how painful it was as a woman of color to hear the horrifically racist things that Joe Biden had said in the past, and that she was one of those little girls that Joe Biden prevented from being integrated into schools because of his racism and segregation. Now, did we ever hear reminders of that? No, of course not. The media never had any interest in even questioning her like, hey, why would you want to help a racist get into the White House? Why would you join the ticket with somebody that you say is a segregationist and a racist? She led the charge against Joe Biden being a horrible, immoral racist. So much so that Joe Biden was totally opposed to her being vice president. But she was that ticked off that Kamala Harris went that far with it. When Joe Biden got elected, were there reminders of what Kamala Harris said about? Of course not. I know that we're accustomed to these things, but I do feel that it is important to note it so that we don't become numb. It's easy to become so accustomed to the lies of the media that you can forget that they're constant liars because you're just numb to it. And I just think that you need the reminders. We need the reminders so that we do not forget who they really are. You think about the fact that Trump is going to win the popular vote. He's winning the popular vote. This hasn't happened for a Republican since after 9/11, where George Bush was extremely popular because of 9/11 and just the leadership that he displayed. And, of course, in retrospect, things oftentimes look different. But in the time, he was riding high. What does it say about the media's credibility when Trump not only wins the legitimate electoral college, but wins the popular vote, given everything the media has said about him and done to try? This is a media that has told the American people Trump called for the execution of Liz Cheney, among other things. If ever there was a poll on how little credibility the media has with the American people, it was with the election yesterday. Jake Tapper, this was audio that you saved. You thought this was particularly humorous. Is this right? I didn't even, this was, I think, the one bit of audio that I did not check out before the show this morning. This is Jake Tapper last night. Was this when it was announced that Trump was going to be making an address to supporters? Is that what this is in response to?
Trump taking a victory lap of sorts. I do not think that, as far as I know, any major news organization has declared him to be the victor, but it certainly seems that he is on his way.
That was after Fox News and the New York Times had called it.
Well, but again, to the point, how you're watching like Norma Desmond of Sunset Boulevard, this withering away from significance. And what a perfect, in reality, or a perfect illustration of the shrinking media in this country. Jake Tapper here, he's like, well, I mean, he's going to be taking this victory lap, but I don't think any of us have declared him a winner. Yeah, you know what? Because it doesn't matter. That you have made yourselves irrelevant. And it's almost sad that there's a lack of self-awareness there, that that's what's going on. Yeah, so what? Who cares? Doesn't matter anymore. And it did used to be that way. It, the actual vote count was not what mattered. What mattered was what the media declared. And because they have so discredited themselves with dishonesty, when you have Trump, they haven't declared it yet, but he's like, we know what the vote counts are. I'm going to win this thing. Well, now wait a minute here. Doesn't he know we haven't declared this yet? I don't think any of the legitimate news networks have declared it. Yeah, okay. So what? Who cares? Doesn't matter. The results of the election show that you don't matter. And you've done it to yourselves. You have no one to blame but yourselves. Any of you ever were told that when you were young? Because you did something, you created a mess for yourself, and then you were upset about it, and this isn't fair. You have no one to blame but yourself. Yes, that is the message to the media. Springfield's Talk 104.1. I'm Nick Reed. Politico headline, Trump promised to get his revenge. Here are his targets. All right. While the rest of America, while average Americans, average people, average normal people are waking up and hopeful, the elites can continue to do that. Go right ahead. And your irrelevancy will grow like a cancer. And it will be a self-inflicted cancer. So apparently, the Dow, the markets, they're looking to they're pretty positively. You were looking at some of those numbers over there. That's really weird. It's crazy.
With the opening bell over the Dow, over 1,000 points.
WNBA star Angel Reese bashes voters after President-elect Trump's win. Hey, this is, like I said, the left, they never self-reflect. It is your fault. You are bad. You are wrong. And that's what all this evaluation is going to be. World leaders reacting to Trump's victory on history's greatest comeback. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was one of the first world leaders to congratulate Trump on his stunning political comeback victory. Netanyahu, of course, Israel benefited, the Middle East benefited, world peace benefited in such meaningful ways under Donald Trump, and just the recognition that the Middle East is going to go back to a place where Iran is not given an economic lifeline by the United States is massive and huge. Netanyahu wrote, "Dear Donald and Melania Trump, congratulations on history's greatest comeback. Your historic return to the White House offers a new beginning for America and a powerful recommitment to the great alliance between Israel and America. This is a huge victory. It's true friendship, yours, Benjamin and Sarah Netanyahu." Now, it should be noted here that this isn't just the standard congratulations, we look forward to future relationships. This is very specific. Offering a new beginning for America and a powerful recommitment to the great alliance between Israel and America. French President Macron said, "Congratulations, President Trump. Ready to work together as we did 4 years ago." What? France and the United States work together? Wow. That's crazy, because if you were to listen to the media and the Democrats, Trump alienated all these people. Ready to work together as we did 4 years ago with your convictions in mind, with respect and ambition for more peace and prosperity. Orbán, Hungarian Prime Minister, quote, "The biggest comeback in political U.S. history. Congratulations to President Trump on his enormous win, a much-needed victory for the world." These aren't just pleasantries. These are very specific reflections on what this means for the world. British Prime Minister Starmer stressed that the U.S. and the U.K. are the, quote, "closest of allies," noted that the U.S.-U.K. special relationship will continue to prosper on both sides of the Atlantic for years to come. "Congratulations, Donald Trump, on your historic election victory. I look forward to working with you in the years ahead." See, that's a little more just, middle of the road, signing the birthday card at the office, and you got to think of something to say. Well, what does Zelensky have to say? You may recall Zelensky was campaigning over here for Kamala Harris and Democrats in Pennsylvania specifically. Guess that didn't pan out. Zelensky, quote, "Congratulations, Donald Trump, on his impressive election victory. I recall our great meeting with Trump back in September when we discussed in detail the Ukraine-U.S. strategic partnership, the victory plan, and ways to put an end to Russian aggression against Ukraine." He added, "I appreciate President Trump's commitment to the peace through strength approach in global affairs. This is exactly the principle that can practically bring just peace in Ukraine closer. I'm hopeful that we will put it into action together. We look forward to an era of a strong United States of America under Trump's decisive leadership. We rely on continued strong bipartisan support of Ukraine in the United States. We are interested in developing mutually beneficial political and economic cooperation that will benefit both of our nations." Prime Minister of India, the leader of the world's most populous nation, stated, "Heartiest congratulations, my friend Donald Trump." Trump has talked warmly about his relationship with Modi of India. "As you build on the success of your previous term, I look forward to renewing our collaboration to further strengthen the India-U.S. comprehensive global and strategic partnership. Together, let's work for the betterment of our people and to promote global peace, stability, and prosperity." El Salvador President Bukele congratulating Trump, saying, "Congratulations to the President-elect of the United States. May God bless and guide you." German Chancellor Scholz praising Trump, quote, "I congratulate Trump on his election as U.S. President. For a long time, Germany and the U.S. have been working together, successfully promoting prosperity and freedom on both sides of the Atlantic. We will continue to do so for the well-being of our citizens." Australian Prime Minister Albanese, congratulations, Trump, on his election victory. "Australians and Americans are good friends and true allies. Working together, we can ensure the partnership between our nations and peoples remains strong in the future." Amazing praise for Hitler. Springfield's Talk 104.1. I'm Nick Reed. I got to play it again. Played it yesterday, played it this morning. This was the closing argument, if you will. What will we do with the moment? Donald Trump.
What will we do with this moment? How will we be remembered? Look at the opportunities before us.
This election really isn't about the left versus the right. It's about we, the people, choosing our government and the choice between freedom versus tyranny.
Why are we allowing this to happen to our children? Ultimately, the only thing that will save our country is if we choose to love our kids more than we hate each other.
Rise above the hatred and the fear and the evil.
We need to remember above and beyond that we must love our neighbors, that we must treat other people as we hope to be treated.
You want to be a rebel? You want to be a hippie? You want to stick it to the man? Show up on your college campus and try calling yourself a conservative.
America is going to reach heights that it has never seen before. The future is going to be amazing.
Don't you want healthy children? Don't you want a president that's going to make America healthy again?
I come to you today as a former Democrat. I will be a first-time Trump voter tonight.
The people dreamed this country, and it's the people who are making America great again.
I don't know if that will ever get old. Enjoy the day. Enjoy the joy. And we will talk with you tomorrow. Glenn Beck is coming up next. I'm Nick Reed.